All animals deserve to be loved, and that is why adopting a dog from a pound is a great way to give such a privileged animal a second chance at life. Sometimes, however, these animals come with a lot of emotional baggage and need help to overcome this. So how can we help our new furry friends? With a lot of love, patience, and kindness, that is how this family bonded with their new four-legged member. One man adopted a golden retriever puppy named Charlie that he found at a local animal shelter. Charlie was a great new companion for the man and his family. Although shy at first, the dog soon gained confidence and was suddenly jumping around the house wanting to play with everyone. Although the dog was getting used to it quite well, his owner noticed some strange behavior. To keep the dog out of the room, the owner installed a railing on the door, but instead of settling in and sleeping, Charlie waited in front of the railing. He watched his owner sleep every night and watched them all night, even giving up his own rest. But why would he do that? Uncomfortable with his unusual behavior, the owner began trying to figure out why his dog was acting so strangely. At first, the owner thought that the nightlife guarding activities could be explained by the fact that the dog is in a new environment. Many animals take the time to get used to their new place, so it is not uncommon for odd behaviors to occur. The owner also tried taking Charlie to the park where he played with him in hopes of expending the dog's energy, so he could sleep later. However, nothing seemed to be working. The night watch continued and there seemed to be something else bothering Charlie. Concerned that it might have to do with the dog's health, Charlie's owner took him to a nearby veterinary clinic for a veterinary checkup. And they were quick to give the go-ahead for the dog to leave, even though it was great to learn that there was nothing physically wrong with the dog. But it left the owner even more confused. If everything was physically fine with Charlie, why was he refusing to sleep? Determined to find out the truth, Charlie's owner went back to the kennel where he adopted him to ask the staff if they knew of any reason the dog's nocturnal activity. It was there that he finally discovered the heartbreaking truth about Charlie's story. It turns out that this little dog was abandoned by his previous owners after his wife became pregnant, deciding that a dog and a baby would be too much to care for. The previous owner took Charlie to a kennel when the puppy was sleeping. When he woke up, the dog was in a strange new environment with his former family nowhere in sight. Fearing the same thing would happen to his new family, Charlie stayed up all night. The owner immediately understood that his new four-legged friend was heartbroken and had a hard time trusting humans again. As soon as he got home, the owner removed the railing from his room and brought Charlie's bed inside the room. By doing this, the owner hoped to show Charlie they wanted him close to them and that the family would never get rid of him. Finally, after several sleepless nights, Charlie one day laid down and closed his eyes to the relief and joy of his family. He has been sleeping peacefully ever since, ready to be loved by his new family when he wakes up. Although this story is obviously fictional, it was not uncommon to hear similar stories about animals going through real-life hardships due to human neglect. The following story shows the extent to which people's negligence can negatively affect animals. When we think of dogs, especially puppies, we imagine big balls full of energy running around and trying to frolic with everyone. Unfortunately for this puppy, the exact opposite happened. In 2016, an animal shelter in Romania took in a new member, an abandoned puppy. Although they didn't fully know the animal's background, the center staff could clearly ascertain that this poor dog had gone through a traumatic experience with some humans. Well, every time someone tried to approach the dog and pet it, it let out a most painful and terrified scream when touched because it had known only hatred. This dog was traumatized by his past and feared that people would hurt him again. If he couldn't overcome his fear of humans, he would probably end up being euthanized. Fortunately, the kennel staff refused to abandon him. A female caregiver began interacting with the dog and, despite the animal's screams of terror, petted him and spoke softly to him in the hopes of showing the frightened dog that no harm would come to him. Eventually, the frightened dog began to calm down and accept the love being offered. It was the first time this puppy felt care and love literally and figuratively. Thanks to this caregiver's kindness and patience, she was able to help this suffering dog realize that his days of agony were over and that not everyone in this world wanted to mistreat him. When the dog finally calmed down, the caregivers were able to solve another urgent problem that could mean life or death for this abandoned dog. Not only had this puppy been physically and mentally abused, but he was also very malnourished and severely underweight, so much so that you could clearly see his bones under his fur. After so much progress they have made with him, the caregivers have started working, put him on a strict diet, and will soon be able to help him get back to a healthy weight, so he has been released for adoption. The puppy, now named Kenny, who was rescued from a shelter and moved to live with a family in the UK, animal caregiver Henry Lacotte, has posted an update about Kenny on Facebook, who found a loving family and is now a happy dog who loves to be petted and loved. We are so happy he is finally living the good life he deserves. Phoenix, the rescued cat, and Ruby, the kitten. It's not just humans who can help animals overcome their problems. Sometimes it takes another animal to show that everything is going to be okay. This was the case for a rescued cat named Phoenix in San Bernardino, California. A woman called the San Bernardino Animal Rescue Center when she noticed that a cat living nearby that had been hanging around her apartments for the past year had become ill. Janina, a worker at the rescue shelter, soon arrived to find the cat. After rescuing him, it was clear that he had been neglected for some time and has had wounds and had lost a lot of fur. But it wasn't just physical wear and tear that was affecting him. Rescue center staff attested that Phoenix is a male cat and that he was very depressed after being abandoned by his family. This depression followed him to his foster home. Even after physically healing, the cat, although he allowed his foster family to pet him often, acted differently and seemed to prefer to spend his time simply living alone. Not even the company of other cats could motivate him until the day he met Ruby. Ruby the kitten had been found as a kitten only a few days old, born in someone's backyard. After being rescued by the rescue center, she was still very weak and sick. At first, she even refused to eat. After a while, she started to feed herself and soon became a figure of fun for everyone around her, including Phoenix. At first, Phoenix wanted nothing to do with her, but because of her persistence and playful nature, the old cat soon decided to see who was causing all the fuss. So he turned around and began to battle her. From that moment on, they became inseparable. Phoenix didn't just play with Ruby, but started interacting with the other kittens and also with his adoptive owners. He became more playful, less withdrawn, and simply happier as he realized how much the group meant to him. The rescue center decided to keep the two cats together when they were put up for adoption. Now the two can live together in the same house forever. Sometimes it's easy to forget that humans aren't the only ones who have feelings. Many animals can feel pain, sadness, happiness, and love, so it's important to keep this in mind before adopting any pet.